The highway stretched endlessly beneath the massive 18-wheeler as the trucker pressed down on the accelerator, the rhythmic hum of the engine drowning out the silence of the night. The road ahead was empty, the faint glow of distant headlights barely flickering in his side mirror. The air was thick with the scent of diesel and worn-out leather, the dashboard illuminated by the dull orange glow of the instrument panel. The trucker had been driving for hours, moving through nameless towns and forgotten highways, his cargo locked away behind reinforced steel doors. He never asked questions. He never needed to. The job was simple: pick up the load, drive, and drop it off. What was inside didn't matter. It never did. The night had been uneventful until now. He had passed through a few truck stops, refueled, stretched his legs, and kept moving. But something felt different this time. A lingering unease settled in his gut, the kind he had learned to trust over the years. It wasn't paranoia. It was instinct, honed through years of being on the road, through encounters that had nearly cost him his life. He had seen too much, learned to recognize when something wasn't right. And right now, something wasn't right. He adjusted his grip on the wheel, his knuckles tightening slightly as he glanced at the rearview mirror. The road behind him was dark, stretching into the void like an open mouth ready to swallow him whole. But then, there it was, a single pair of headlights in the distance. Small at first, barely noticeable, but they didn't fade. They didn't pass. They just stayed there. Following. He exhaled slowly, keeping his focus on the road, but his mind was already working. It wasn't unusual for cars to follow truckers for short stretches of highway, sometimes it was nothing more than coincidence. But this was different. He had taken an exit off the main interstate 20 minutes ago, a back route that only experienced drivers knew about, one that cut through old industrial towns and winding forest roads. No one should have been behind him. No one should have known he was here. His mind ran through the possibilities. A cop? Unlikely. They would have made their presence known by now, flashing their lights, pulling him over for a routine check. A hijacker? Possible. Cargo theft wasn't uncommon, especially for drivers hauling unknown shipments. He had dealt with those types before. He knew how to handle them. He tapped his fingers against the wheel, considering his options. If they were following him, they were waiting for something. Waiting for him to stop. Waiting for him to pull into a rest area where they could corner him. He wasn't going to give them that chance. He pressed down on the accelerator, watching the speedometer climb. The truck roared forward, eating up the road, but the headlights in the mirror stayed with him. They weren't just following. They were matching his speed. His pulse remained steady, but his jaw clenched. They weren't backing off. Then, without warning, the headlights disappeared. 1 second they were there, glaring in the rearview mirror. The next, gone. His eyes darted to the side mirrors, scanning the darkness, but there was nothing. No sign of a car pulling off the road. No sign of headlights dimming. Just empty road. He inhaled sharply, keeping his focus ahead, trying to shake the unease creeping up his spine. Maybe they had turned off, realizing he wasn't an easy target. Maybe it had been nothing at all. Then the CB radio crackled. A burst of static, sharp and sudden, filled the cab, making him flinch. He hadn't touched the dial. The radio had been silent for hours. The static faded, replaced by a low, distorted hum. Then a voice. Slow. Distant. Almost familiar. Calling his name. He froze. No one should have known his name. Not out here. Not on this stretch of highway in the middle of nowhere. The voice came again, the words slow, stretched like they were coming from miles away, distorted through layers of interference. It wasn't possible. His fingers hovered over the radio dial, ready to shut it off, but he hesitated. Something about the voice made his skin crawl. Then the engine sputtered. The truck lurched, the dashboard flickering, the headlights dimming for a fraction of a second before roaring back to life. The tires groaned against the pavement, the sudden jolt rattling through the cab. His breath came slow, measured. Then the CB crackled again, and the voice whispered something else. "Check the trailer." He gritted his teeth, his hands tightening on the wheel. No. He wasn't stopping. Not here. Not now. He had been in situations before where he had been set up, where someone tried to lure him into a trap, get him out of the cab, leave him vulnerable. He wasn't falling for it. He forced himself to focus, pushing the truck forward, putting distance between himself and whatever was playing this game. But the feeling didn't leave. It got worse. The temperature inside the cab felt different now, colder than it should have been. The air was thick, heavy. The hum of the tires against the road sounded wrong, like something was underneath him, beneath the asphalt, waiting. Then, from behind him, a thud. Inside the trailer. Not the normal shifting of cargo. Not the rattling of loose straps. A deliberate thud. His grip on the wheel remained firm, his breath slow, steady. He had transported all kinds of things before, things he wasn't supposed to ask questions about. But he had always been certain of one thing. The cargo in the back never moved. Not like this. Another thud. Louder. Then, scraping. His mind ran through the scenarios, each one worse than the last. If someone had been back there the whole time, they were in a place where no one should have been able to survive. No food. No air. No way out. Another thud. This time, followed by a knock. From inside. 3 slow, deliberate knocks against the steel walls. He exhaled through his nose, his pulse finally spiking. Then the CB crackled again. "You should have stopped." The headlights flickered. The road ahead seemed to stretch longer, twisting in a way that didn't make sense, like the miles were stretching, warping into something unnatural. The trucker didn't believe in fear. He didn't believe in ghosts. He didn't believe in things he couldn't see. But right now, something was inside his trailer. And it wanted out. The trucker kept his hands steady on the wheel, his fingers curled so tight that his knuckles turned white. The CB radio crackled again, a whisper slipping through the static, but he ignored it. He had made his choice. He wasn't stopping. Not here. Not now. Whatever was in the trailer, whatever had been knocking, he wasn't letting it out. The highway stretched ahead, its dark, twisting length warping in the glow of his headlights. The air inside the cab had turned thick, oppressive, like something was pressing down on him, making it harder to breathe. He didn't believe in ghosts. He didn't believe in the supernatural. He believed in what he could see, what he could touch. But right now, his instincts that had kept him alive for years, were screaming at him. The thudding inside the trailer stopped. The silence that followed was worse. He kept his focus on the road, forcing himself to breathe evenly. His mind worked through the possibilities. Someone could have stowed away back there, hidden in the cargo. Maybe it was a setup, someone testing his reaction. But no one could have survived for this long. No air, no way out. And the way the knocking had sounded, calculated, slow, knowing, sent a chill up his spine. The CB radio crackled again. Another whisper. Let it out. He exhaled slowly, his mind battling between logic and something deeper. Something primal. Then the engine stuttered. The truck lurched violently, the dashboard lights flickering, the speedometer needle jerking back and forth as if something had taken control of the machine. The steering wheel fought against him, and for a brief second, the entire rig veered off course, the weight of the trailer pulling dangerously toward the shoulder. He yanked the wheel, forcing the truck back onto the highway, his heartbeat hammering. Another knock. This time, it came from just behind the cab. Closer. His breathing remained steady, but something was wrong. The trailer was still locked. Nothing should have been able to move inside. Then, in the rearview mirror, he saw it. A shape. A shadow shifting just outside the trailer doors. Impossible. He hadn't stopped. He hadn't let anyone in. He hadn't. The trailer doors opened. Not completely. Just enough. Enough to see what was inside. Enough for something to step out. The headlights barely caught it, a figure, long and twisted, unfolding from the darkness. It wasn't human. It shouldn't have been human. Limbs too long, too thin, moving in slow, unnatural jerks. The thing crawled out of the trailer, its hands gripping the steel as if testing its weight against the wind. The trucker's pulse spiked. His foot pressed hard on the gas. The figure smiled. It didn't fall. It clung to the side of the trailer, the wind whipping against it, but it didn't move like something struggling to stay on. It moved like something that belonged there. He ripped his eyes away from the mirror, staring straight ahead, forcing his breathing to slow. He had been in situations before where panic got men killed. He wasn't going to die here. He wasn't going to let whatever this was take him. Then the passenger door handle moved. He saw it. Felt it. Something was trying to open the door. Something was already inside the cab. His muscles tensed, his right hand already moving toward the knife tucked beneath his seat. He didn't turn. Didn't flinch. He had spent years being the predator. He wasn't about to become prey. The air inside the cab changed. Cold. Stale. Like something was breathing in his space. Then, the whisper. This time, it was inside his head. You brought us here. His grip on the knife tightened. His mind fought for logic, for reason, for an explanation. He had always believed in control. In calculated decisions. But this wasn't normal. He knew fear when he saw it. He had seen it in the eyes of those he had taken. He had watched it creep up their spines in their final moments. For the first time in his life, he felt it, too. The whisper laughed. A low, rattling sound. And then, the truck flipped. It happened in an instant. The entire world tilted, the tires leaving the pavement, the weight of the trailer slamming sideways, the violent pull of gravity tearing at his body. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. His body hit the door, the seatbelt digging into his ribs as the truck crashed onto its side, sliding, grinding against the asphalt in an explosion of sparks. The world spun. Time stretched. And then, stillness. For a long moment, he just lay there, pinned against the door, his breath ragged. The cabin was sideways, the windshield shattered, the world outside a blur of twisted steel and broken headlights. Silence. Then, footsteps. Soft. Measured. Approaching. His pulse hammered. Something wasn't right. He shifted, pushing against the crushed weight of the cab, his muscles screaming. His knife was gone. His gun was gone. His control was gone. The footsteps stopped just outside the broken windshield. A shadow fell over him. He didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then, slowly, something crouched. It was tall. Too tall. Its body folding in a way that shouldn't have been possible. Its face leaned close, tilting slightly, studying him. A smile. A mouth too wide. Teeth too long. Then it spoke. You were always one of us. His vision blurred. His body went cold. The last thing he saw before the darkness swallowed him was himself. Standing in the road. Smiling. waiting. And then, nothing. The highway was empty. The truck was gone. No wreckage. No signs of a crash. Just the endless road. And the whisper in the wind. We are always watching. The trucker had vanished. Another ghost swallowed by the road. The road stretched endlessly, an unbroken ribbon of darkness swallowing all light. The world was silent, the air thick with something unseen, something waiting. The trucker had vanished. The wreckage of his rig, the twisted steel, the shattered glass, gone. As if it had never existed. As if he had never existed. But the highway remembered. It always did. Somewhere, far away, the roar of an engine broke the silence. The 18-wheeler cut through the night, its headlights piercing the fog, its tires whispering against the pavement. The hum of the road was familiar, soothing, a steady heartbeat that pulsed beneath the weight of the truck. Inside the cab, the driver sat with an expressionless face, hands firm on the wheel. He was still. Focused. He had a job to do. But something was wrong. The trucker didn't remember getting into the cab. Didn't remember starting the engine. The last thing he remembered was the crash. The sound of metal screaming. The darkness swallowing him whole. And yet, here he was. Driving. His breath came slow, steady. His mind searched for reason, for an explanation. Maybe he had survived. Maybe the accident hadn't happened. Maybe it had all been in his head. But deep down, he knew the truth. This wasn't his truck. This wasn't his route. This wasn't his life. The CB radio crackled. The voice returned. Low. Amused. Familiar. Keep driving. His hands clenched the wheel, but he didn't respond. He had spent his life controlling every situation, every moment. He wasn't about to let this be any different. But the weight of the whisper pressed against him, curling around him like smoke. You know where you're going. His eyes flicked to the GPS. The screen was blank. No destination. No route. But he did know. The knowledge was buried inside him, deeper than thought. It pulsed beneath his skin, like something planted, something put there. He was driving toward something. Something waiting at the end of the road. The CB crackled again. It's almost time. The whisper curled inside his head, slipping through the cracks of his thoughts. The truck roared forward. The miles melted away. He passed places he had never seen before, yet they felt familiar. A gas station with shattered windows, the pumps rusted and broken, the neon sign flickering but never fully lighting up. A motel with every door open, swinging in the wind, but not a single light inside. A diner with a parking lot full of abandoned cars, their windshields dusted with years of neglect. The road was taking him somewhere. And he couldn't stop. He tried. He took his foot off the gas. The truck didn't slow down. He turned the wheel. The rig stayed straight. He reached for the key, gripping it hard, twisting. It didn't move. The truck kept driving. The whisper came again. Almost there. His breath hitched. Then. Lights ahead. Not headlights. Something else. A town. The highway spilled into it like a vein feeding a dying heart, the buildings old, the streets empty. He had never seen this place before. It wasn't on any map. It shouldn't have been here. But he had been here. He knew that now. He just didn't remember when. The truck slowed on its own, the brakes hissing, the engine growling like a caged animal. He sat there, gripping the wheel, staring at the empty town before him. The whisper was gone. The silence was worse. He opened the door. Stepped out. The ground felt wrong beneath his boots, too soft, like the earth itself was breathing. The air smelled of rain, of gasoline, of something rotting just beneath the surface. He took a step forward. Then another. The street was lined with signs that meant nothing. A barber shop, but the windows were painted black. A hotel, but the rooms had no doors. A grocery store, but the shelves inside were empty, not just of food, but of anything. No dust. No decay. Just emptiness. He kept walking. The wind whispered. The buildings loomed. Then, up ahead. A figure. Standing in the middle of the street. Still. Waiting. The trucker stopped. His breath came slow. The figure was familiar. The shape of it. The way it stood. The way it breathed. Then it stepped into the light. And he saw himself. The same face. The same eyes. The same smile. It wasn't possible. It wasn't real. But the other him took a step closer. Then another. The trucker's hands curled into fists. This was wrong. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. He moved to step back. But the town had disappeared. There was no road. No truck. No escape. Just him. And him. The other smiled wider. Spoke. We told you. The trucker's breath came sharp. You were always one of us. The world twisted. The building stretched. The air burned. And then. Nothing. The highway was empty. The truck was gone. The town had never been there. Just the endless road. Just the whisper in the wind. Another truck rumbled past, its headlights glowing dim against the darkness. The driver inside stared ahead, hands firm on the wheel, face unreadable. He didn't remember getting into the cab. Didn't remember starting the engine. But he kept driving. Because that's what he was made for. The road had claimed another. And it was still hungry. The highway stretched on, an endless vein pulsing through the darkness, feeding an unseen hunger. The truck roared forward, a mechanical beast with no master, just an obedient driver at the wheel. The trucker sat rigid in his seat, eyes locked on the empty road ahead. His hands gripped the wheel, his knuckles pale against the leather. He did not blink. He did not breathe too deeply. He only drove. But something was wrong. He didn't remember starting the truck. Didn't remember shifting into gear. The town, the impossible town, was gone. Erased. No wreckage, no signs of his presence. As if it had been nothing more than a whisper in his mind. And yet, the feeling remained. Something had changed. The road was different. It felt alive now. Every mile stretched unnaturally, every shadow along the roadside watching. He could feel it, the weight of unseen eyes pressing against the glass, crawling over his skin like insects. The CB radio crackled. The whisper returned. Keep driving. His fingers curled tighter around the wheel. He had heard this before. He had lived this before. But now, there was something deeper in that voice, something hungry. His mouth was dry. He had made his living on the road. It had been his world, his kingdom, the place where no one could touch him. But now, the road was something else. Something he no longer controlled. The miles passed. Time didn't. He glanced at the dashboard clock. It hadn't moved. The numbers flickered, warping, shifting. Then. 3:33 a.m. Again. And again. The clock reset, the numbers refusing to climb. He was trapped in the same moment. Endlessly. The whisper came again, curling through the cab, sliding under his skin. We are waiting. His pulse didn't spike. He had spent his life making others afraid, watching fear bloom in their eyes before he took what he wanted. But this was different. This was not normal. The headlights flickered. A sign emerged from the darkness. It should not have been there. It had never been there. It read, "Welcome to Blackridge. Population, 1." His breath hitched. He had just left that town. It did not exist. It had never existed. But here it was again, the sign standing as if it had always been waiting for him. The truck didn't stop. Didn't slow. It just carried him forward. The streetlights ahead flickered on. The buildings stood silent. The town had returned. And this time, it was different. He saw them now. Figures. Standing along the sidewalks, lining the road, their faces hidden in shadow. Dozens. Hundreds. Motionless. Waiting. Watching. His hands trembled for the first time in years. The truck rolled into the heart of the town, moving under a power that was no longer his own. The figures didn't move. Didn't blink. But he could feel their eyes, digging into him, peeling back the layers of his mind, seeing everything he had ever done. The street narrowed. A building loomed ahead. An old service station, its windows black, its roof sagging. The truck stopped. The engine died. Silence. The air was thick, suffocating, pressing down on him from all sides. Then, the passenger door unlocked. A slow, deliberate click. The invitation was clear. His breathing slowed. No. He wasn't going in there. This was a game. A trap. He wasn't the type to fall into them. But then, the figures on the sidewalk moved. Not walking. Not shifting. Sliding. Closer. Closer. The whisper returned. It's time. The first figure stepped forward, into the glow of the headlights. And he saw its face. His face. The trucker went still. The figure was him. Same jacket. Same weathered skin. Same eyes, but hollow now, empty sockets that burned with something deeper than darkness. The second figure stepped forward. Another him. Then another. And another. His throat tightened. Dozens. Hundreds. All of them were him. The whisper curled into his ear, gentle, amused. You've been driving for so long. Come inside. It's time to rest. His pulse slammed against his ribs. No. He grabbed the door handle, yanking it shut, but it didn't move. The lock slid open again. The truck was no longer his. The whisper sighed. You know what you are. The first figure, the first version of him, smiled. And then, they rushed the truck. He fought. He didn't scream. Didn't beg. Didn't run. But the road had already swallowed him. It had always been waiting. And as they pulled him from the cab, dragging him toward the service station, toward whatever waited inside, he finally understood. He had never been the driver. He had always been the cargo. And the road always collects its debts. The highway was empty the next morning. No truck. No bodies. Just the endless stretch of road. Waiting. Always waiting. A new rig rumbled past, its headlights cutting through the fog. Inside, the driver stared ahead, hands firm on the wheel. He didn't remember getting into the cab. Didn't remember shifting into gear. But he knew one thing. He had to keep driving. Because that's what he was made for. The road had claimed another. And it would claim more. It was always hungry. And the highway never ends. The highway stretched into eternity, a road with no end, swallowing the past and bleeding into the unknown. The truck rumbled forward, headlights piercing through the mist that curled like grasping fingers around the asphalt. The driver sat motionless, hands firm on the wheel, expression vacant. He didn't remember how he had gotten here. He didn't remember anything at all. The dashboard lights flickered, casting a sickly orange glow across the cab. The speedometer needle hovered at a steady 70 miles per hour, but he felt no sense of movement. The road outside the windshield remained unchanged, an infinite loop of dark pavement lined with skeletal trees. His knuckles tightened, though he didn't recall why. Instinct, maybe. A lingering sense of something forgotten. His gaze flicked to the side mirror. A figure sat in the passenger seat. He didn't turn his head. Didn't blink. He could see it in the reflection, long, thin limbs, a face that was too familiar yet wrong, as if someone had stretched his features over something that wasn't human. The eyes were empty sockets, but he knew they were looking at him. Through him. The CB radio crackled. A voice seeped through the static. "Keep driving." His jaw locked. He should have been afraid. But he wasn't. Because deep inside, he knew this wasn't new. He had been here before. The road had claimed him long ago. But something was different now. Something was watching. The reflection in the mirror tilted its head, a slow, deliberate motion, as if studying him, waiting for recognition to bloom in his mind. His breath came slow, measured. His pulse remained steady, but something beneath his skin crawled. He was a man who had spent his life controlling fear, he had been the fear in others. But this? This was something else. The road ahead stretched into nothingness, twisting unnaturally, shifting in ways that asphalt should not. The headlights couldn't penetrate the dark anymore, it swallowed the beams whole. Then the whisper returned. Soft. Patient. "You're almost home." His teeth clenched. No. Home wasn't real. Home was something he had burned away long ago, something that had never existed for men like him. He had lived in motion, in shadows, in places that never asked questions. But the road never forgot. The truck groaned, the tires shrieking against the pavement as if protesting his denial. Then the passenger door opened. Cold air howled through the cab. The figure stepped out, not in the way a man steps out of a truck, but as if it had never been inside to begin with. It unfolded, too long, too thin, disappearing into the darkness beside the highway. The truck kept moving. The road was different now. It was watching him. He didn't stop. He didn't touch the brakes. Because somewhere in the distance, through the fog, through the twisting miles, he saw it. A town. The same one. Blackridge. It shouldn't have existed. He had already been here. He had already left. But it was waiting for him again. His fingers trembled against the wheel. This time, he wasn't getting out. The CB crackled once more. "Welcome back." The whisper curled through his mind. The headlights illuminated the first building, the service station. The doors were open now. Waiting. And this time, they wouldn't let him leave. The road never lets go. The highway had no end. The truck moved forward, but it wasn't under his control anymore. It had never been. His hands gripped the wheel, knuckles bloodless, but he wasn't steering. The road had taken that from him. His foot pressed the gas, but he wasn't the one driving. The engine hummed like a living thing, the vibrations crawling up his spine, whispering through his bones. The truck knew where it was going. And it was taking him with it. The town of Blackridge loomed in the distance, the empty buildings bathed in the sickly glow of flickering streetlights. The same buildings. The same gas station. The same neon sign that buzzed even though no power lines ran to this place. "Welcome to Blackridge. Population, 1. He had seen this before. He had lived this before. But this time, he wouldn't be leaving. The CB radio crackled. He didn't move. He already knew what it would say. Come home. The headlights washed over the cracked pavement as the truck slowed. The brakes hissed. The cab shuddered. The world outside the windshield was a still life painting of a town that should not exist. A town that had been waiting. The door locks clicked open. A single knock came from the sleeper compartment behind him. Not rushed. Not frantic. Patient. He did not turn. He had seen what waited in the mirror before. He would not look again. But his body moved anyway. The whisper pulled at his thoughts, not words, just a sensation. Something smiling. His head tilted against his will, his gaze shifting toward the mirror. And there he was. Sitting in the passenger seat. Watching. Grinning. Not just one of him. Hundreds. Reflections within reflections, shifting, changing. Versions of himself that had existed before. The trucker saw his own face 1,000 times over, each one slightly different, each one twisted with something wrong. Some had their eyes missing. Some had their mouths stitched shut. Some had smiles too wide, too full of teeth. The whisper slithered into his skull. There is no driver. Only the road. His body tensed, but he could not move. The figures in the mirror blinked in unison. Then they stepped out of the reflection. The truck filled with them. A sea of hands reached for him. Pulling. Grabbing. Dragging. He thrashed. Fought. But there was nothing to fight. The cab was gone. The truck was gone. The world was gone. Only darkness remained. And the whisper. You were always ours. He fell. Through the asphalt. Through the black. Through something that had no bottom. The road had swallowed him whole. The next morning, another truck rolled down the highway. Another 18-wheeler. Another driver. The same route. The same destination. The road did not forget. The road always took. And it was always hungry.